Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Success Sadhana. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today where we are starting a new series, Practical Wisdom 5 Things Nobody Schedules. And we are starting with session 1, which is Time is Vicious when you take it for granted. With our speaker today, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and former monk. People are still joining in, but we have around 10, 8, 9 members on Zoom, and people are also here online on social media. So thank you so much, Vaish, for giving us this new series. Really excited and looking forward to this.
There are people on social media. You're making me nervous now. Well, great to have all of you here, and thanks for joining in midday. There's always time to reallocate our attention and repoint it to what's most important. So that's what we intend to do today. And I'm going to start us off with a meditation. Hey, good time, 12 o'clock noon, to have a brief interlude with our own consciousness. What do you all think? Okay, so take a moment to get centered, sit comfortably, sit up a little straighter than you were a second ago. You don't have to be rigid, but be alert. And then I'm going to adjust my sound a little bit and play some raga in the background. And then I'm going to walk you through a meditation that comes from the Bhagavad Gita, from the 13th chapter. So here we go. Close your eyes if you like. It can help you to be more internally focused. Notice your breath. Slow down your breath and make it regulated. And now notice that you're the observer of your breath. Notice that you can observe your hands. You can observe your feet. You can feel them in this very moment because you're the observer. This state of observation is called shakshitva, being the witness. You're not obligated to connect to your life situation. You can observe it and have enlightened engagement with it based on the principle of service, using everything for service, your body, your mind. But you don't have to hold on to it. You can see all paraphernalia in your life as that which you will engage in service. You can see whatever you have as being on loan so that you can use it in service. Whatever you possess, you can see it as somebody you've hired so that you can increase your service. And if possessions are not serving you in that way anymore, you can ask them to move on. There is a difference in perspective for those who are fully conscious. And I'll read to you from the Bhagavad Gita as you stay aware of your own awareness. One aspect of that perspective. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, one who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. This body is made of material nature under the directions of the Supersoul. And whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or for distress, one is forced to do because of the bodily constitution. The self, however, is outside all these bodily activities. This body is given according to one's past desires. To fulfill desires, one is given the body, with which he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme to fulfill our desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual seer. So take a moment to relinquish any sense of proprietorship you have over your life situation or your body, and feel what it feels like to unburden and be the witness rather than the owner or the possessor. And to solidify your realization, bring a mantra into your mind's eye, 2 syllables, Rama. You can see the 2 syllables converge into one word and say in your mind's eye, Rama, which means when we participate in service to the Supreme, we experience unlimited pleasure. And when we forget that, we plunge ourselves into anxiety. It's a simple equation. Bring your awareness, which is your free will, back to your breath. And then notice that you have the power to wiggle your fingers and toes. All you have to do is think it and they move by some higher power. Your eyelids you can open and come back into the world ready for service. Thanks, everybody. I feel better myself. And now I'm going to change the sound so that it picks up my voice. Instead of ambient, ambi means all around and just close by. So today I'm going to comment on a quotation that I'm fond of, which is that time is vicious when you take it for granted. But first I'm going to tell you what vicious means, because it sounds scary to me. I don't know how you feel about that word. I hope I'm not alarming anybody during the afternoon. Vicious means deliberately cruel or violent. And it comes from vicious, from Old French or Latin, vitio, vitosus, vititum, vitium. And it's a metal tool, comes originally from metal tool with movable jaws that are used to hold an object firmly in place while work is done on it. That doesn't sound good. So where did this come from? Well, it's obvious that we are in contention with time, because there's a way in which as soon as we come into the world, we have to take off running. Just out of the womb, our parents are waiting there and saying, come on, you can walk, get going. Plus, they may be expecting you to do something like become a doctor or lawyer or something like that, and they have a fund raised for you, or maybe they want you to work on their farm or take up rickshaw driving like they've done. Whatever it may be, there's some expectation. And there's also some debt. This is mentioned in the wisdom literatures that when we come into the world, we already owe something. We have a debt to pay back. Does anybody know the one word that describes or that is synonymous with what I'm describing, the phenomena of coming into the world and you already have a debt? You can type it in the chat box. It's a word that everybody knows, comes from Sanskrit. It starts with a K, ends with an A. Okay, Sudha got it. And then Ishwari Radha got it. Chandu got it. Karma. Karma comes from a root word which means to work. So as soon as you come into the world, everyone expects you to work. Don't they? I mean, especially nowadays, I'm noticing first thing is get into kindergarten. Why? So you can go to first grade through sixth. Then why that? So you can go to seventh and eighth. Why that? So you can go to what is it, 9 through 12. And then after that, junior year, you're starting to pick which very expensive place you're going to go to get more training. Why? So you can get an internship somewhere. And then what about after you finish? Well, there is no finish. You got to go somewhere and work. And as my friend Matthew points out, that people spend most of the first part of their life, for three-quarters of it, accumulating money, and then the last part spending it all to try to stay alive somehow or other because the body falls apart. That sounds a little vicious to me. And so we have this contention with time. Time has to do with also our obligation when we come into the world. What are we obligated to do? That's called karma. We're forced to work hard. Who can stop? I think there was a time when people went for protest. They didn't want a 7 day work week, 7 day a week. People had to work, and then they somehow got five. I guess maybe that's the law, but why not three? 3 day work week. Why not everyone go work from home? We got that respite during the pandemic. It's like, okay, you can work from home now. Thank you for allowing me. How about how about one day? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this ancient wisdom text, there's the story of Shukadev. And Shukadev, he was an enlightened soul even in the womb. So he didn't want to come out because he said, yeah, it's just business as usual when they come out of the womb. So everyone's, oh, come out, come out. Finally came out and he just turned around and walked away from his family because he said, I'm not doing the usual stuff. I'm not going to relate to the world. I'm not advocating that everyone has to walk away from whatever they're doing, but it's just an awareness that we're forced into various circumstances in this world, and we're on a schedule. We're on a schedule always. You may notice that throughout the day, you look at your timepiece again and again and again and see, what do I have to do now? What do I have to do now? So time forces us to move in certain ways, and time has to do with the way it's noting how the universe is moving. What's the main demarcation of time in the universe? Well, if you've ever been out to the wilderness, you may notice that when you get out there, you're much more aware of the sun. When the sun comes up, all the birds start chirping. In fact, even before it comes up, somehow or other, I don't know how they do this, but they know it's coming up. So they can feel it. They're much more sensitized to the environment. And then when it goes down at night, everyone falls asleep because have you ever been in the wilderness, anybody? I used to go with my father camping, place way away from electricity or anything like that. There was a place we used to go to in the Sierra called the Peter Grubb Hut, some packers had built way in the wilderness, and you could go and stay in there. It was just a little shelter, but no electricity. And I just remember the sun goes down and there's nothing more you can do. You just go to sleep, wake up. So we're sort of on this schedule. We do have artificial lights now, and we keep on a schedule, which maybe push it later, but we're all forced into this cycle, and the sun is rising and setting, rising and setting. And the next concept given in the wisdom literature of the Srimad Bhagavatam is that we're born with an ayu. Can somebody put that in the chat? Ayu, it's another interesting Sanskrit word. In fact, I'm going to tell you more about it. Ayu. Does anybody know off the top of their head what it means exactly? Ayu means lifespan. Okay, here you go. Here's the etymology. Ayu comes from the verbal root I. That's a I, a short I. And it means to go, to move, to proceed. And with the prefix a, it means towards something. So ayu conveys the idea of the course of one's going or the span through which one proceeds. And most particularly, it means the journey of an embodied life. So we have an embodied life. Check and see if you have a body. Did you check? That's a body. And you're in it. Remember what we heard when we were meditating? It's like a machine. It's got all these moving parts. Feel if there's a pump running in your chest. It's pumping, I hope. Otherwise, have somebody call 911. And you'll notice the levers. These are levers. Eyelids, who knows how they work? Some kind of compression system. It's all mechanical. And it's kind of like an Uber. You give it a little Uber to drive around in for a little while. Some of them I saw today coming home from an appointment. I saw that a lot of what are those self-driving cars called?
Waymo,
Huh?
Waymo, Tesla,
No. The other
Waymo,
Waymo. Yeah, Waymo. Sorry if that's what you said. I didn't hear you. Waymo. I saw their Jaguars. Those are made in England. Yeah, it's an English-made car, robo-taxi. I can't frame robo-taxis. This is a Waymo robo-taxi kind of thing. Some people get a Jaguar, some people get a Tesla, some people get I don't know what else is out there these days. I can't keep track. So it is that. And then it has a warranty on it. Toyotas will last you a little longer than most. They don't tend to need much fixing. Some people's bodies need fixing, from the very beginning. So, um, yeah, so this idea, you have a lifespan. I mean, it's a machine, right? So that makes sense that it would have some kind of an expectation, a shelf life, how long will it last? So that's how much time we have. So that's something that oftentimes people miss because if you identify with the body and you just think, well, maybe I'll just try to live forever, you won't. It's not possible. The part about living forever, that's reasonable because the consciousness is always existent. That was a weird sentence. We exist, we've always existed, we always will exist, but the body won't. It'll change. And people come and it seems like they're going to be here forever. Like I always thought there's certain movie stars like Paul Newman. Did anybody hear of him? If one of the most handsome movie stars or Robert Redford, and you think like that guy's got to live forever because he's so handsome, but he didn't. And now that body's gone, and the person who was inside that body has moved on to some other place. And I mean, there's pictures, but that's it. The material nature never lasts. So the idea of Ayu is given for our benefit. For instance, it's mentioned in this book called the Yoga Sutras. I have them right here. I'm going to show you. This is a big, thick book because it's an academic version, and it is written by a Muni or a sage. It's the psychology of yoga. And in it, he describes how you get this machine, the material body, and you have a kind of you have a lifespan assigned to you when you get this body. That means it has a beginning and an end. How does that make you feel? Oh, seriously, how does it make you? At least give me an emoji. A friend of mine always said, he writes me messages all the time. He said, an emoji will do. Her response takes a lot of pressure off. Blessed. Nice. Vasuda feels blessed. And we are running out of time, says Shiva. Uh, Definitely there's a reaction to it when we become aware of it, right? And if we're super aware of it, like what I was thinking, Shiva, is What if we were able to get a countdown timer individually customized for each one of us? I mean, people try to do that. Who especially tries to get an accurate count of how long you're going to live? Who especially? And I'll give you a hint. It has to do with making money from you. So put it in the chat box. Which industry is most concerned with how long you live? Who can say? That's right, insurance. So that they crunch the numbers as hard as they can to try to figure out how long you're going to live. And they have an answer. It may not be exact because they're just using their um, mathematical statistics. They're using statistics to figure out what the likelihood is, the average mean of how long people are going to live according to certain circumstances. But it's definitely there. So the Mooney who wrote this book, Mooney means thinker, he said, be aware when you're born that there's a lifespan that you have. So whether you have a countdown timer or not, you should be aware that beginning and an end. And my teacher used to say a transcendentalist, a spiritual person, or one who wants to interact with the world in an enlightened way, should always remain aware that life is precious and that every day is a blessing. I really liked what you said here, Basuda, that feel blessed. Every day is a blessing. And don't take it for granted because why shouldn't we why shouldn't we take time for granted? Can anybody say based on the first quote I gave? This is a quiz. Come on, chop chop. What happens? Time is vicious when you take it for granted. It'll chew you up. That's what vicious reminds me of, some kind of very snarly animal like a badger or something like that. It will chew a hole in your arm, and time is cruel. So let's look at a few slides. Now, where did this bent I'm on come from? Well, I went to an engagement party in Santa Barbara, uh, invited down. There's some lovely young people who, and this isn't their picture, and that's not me either. But I was invited to speak at the engagement party, and they said, give some wisdom. And I started my talk by saying, well, it's a very rare opportunity to give free advice with impunity, as most people don't like it when you give free advice, but since that's why you asked me to come here, I'll give free advice. So practical wisdom, let's talk about it. Okay, JM. I gave 5 things. The first one was time. The other ones I'll go into at another time. But let's look at time. Time is vicious when you take it for granted. First, I'd like to get anybody's reaction to this quote that I put up there. What do you think? This time, don't put it in the chat. Say what you think. What does it evoke in your mind and your heart when I
There
say
are,
time is vicious? Yeah,
there are few things which are coming in. Radhakrupta says time is cruel. Vasudha says it's limited. Ishwari Radha says we lose it. Karitamrita says it can end any time. And Bhavakanti says it can't be recovered.
yeah, yeah. Time is vicious when you take it for granted. You know what it reminds me of? That quote, the reason I've been going around saying it, by Bob says, if time is gone, entire generation can be gone. Can't be recovered. Fear of leaving the body. Yeah, all these things are there. And when I hear it, there's a ring of optimism in it. It says time is vicious when you take it for granted, but what if you don't take it for granted? Now, this is the huge upside that's mentioned in the wisdom literatures. And that's what I was talking about to the young couple who are getting engaged about the upside. Time's vicious when you take it for granted, but what if you don't take it for granted? Let's go back to the slides, JM. Chandu said, running out of time. Okay. I just like looking at that. Now, the word harati means to take away something. So this just happens, my quotation there that I gave happens to match a very famous verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which uses these words ayu, which you already know it means, lifespan, and harati takes away. So every sunset, every sunrise, ayur harati vaipum san udyan astan chayanasau. This is how it starts. And it says every rising and setting of the sun is taking away your lifespan. And then the second part of the verse says, except one who uses time to know oneself. So if you're using time wisely, it's the great, great opportunity we have, the investment. If you use that time for realizing yourself and the source of yourself. This is spiritual practice, what spiritual practice is, not just for survival or for earning money, which you can't keep anyway. You can't keep anything. It's all, these are all your employees. And if they're not serving you well, you should fire them. Everything you own is an employee. So figure out what you're trying to do. And if you are fortunate enough, blessed to have an ayu, as Vasudha said, we're blessed to have an ayu, then you can utilize it. And that's our most valuable asset because, well, I'll talk about it more before getting ahead of myself. Let's see what else we have here. Besides, go back to that picture. It's kind of beautiful. Yes, if you've ever taken the time, this is a slight digression, but not much. We're in sync with our bodies are in sync with the world. And one of the main factors that regulates our bodies and the mechanisms that are so delicately balanced is the sun. There's a lot more research has been done in modern times, but this is part of what ancient medicine talks about is making sure that you see the sun when it rises. And nowadays, you can look it up. Lots and lots of people are talking about the ways in which your hormones in your body, like melatonin, get reset when you let the morning sun touch your eyes, not through the windows, but directly, not through sunglasses, but directly. Don't look right into it, but do let your eyes get bathed by the sun. And what happens? We're so intricately related with the universe and with the sun that it regulates the rhythms of your body, the circadian rhythms of your body. In fact, best advice for overcoming jet lag, which I have to do quite a bit, is to get into the morning sun. And it's quite amazing too, when you take time to observe the sunrise, you have a sense of first how you have an ayu and it's being used up one day at a time, how you have a great opportunity in every 24-hour cycle to take advantage of the ayu that you have. And then you can also be motivated by the admonition upon which this talk is based today, which is time is vicious if you take it for granted. So one of a spiritual practice or an element of or a foundational aspect of spiritual practice is to not take time for granted. Don't fritter it away. Don't while away your time. Don't work in such a way that you degrade yourself. Organize your life so that you can rise. And the sun rises, our consciousness can also rise. So that's what this verse from the Bhagavatam, if you have a Bhagavatam at home, you can look it up later, 2:3:17, and it talks about how the sun is talking to us. It's going overhead and saying, I'm taking away your life unless you're using your time wisely. So we should hear that. Okay. So I mentioned this earlier about having a countdown timer. And if you do a little calculation, and let's just say you start at 80 years and work backwards to where you are now and see how much time you have left, that would give me 10 and 1 hour a day across a lifetime. If you use 1 hour a day, gives you only about 3 years. Um, so what are you using it on? I mean, think about how we waste time on a lot of things. Okay, here's a kind of a stimulating topic. Name one thing that you, dare I say this, regret wasting time on in the last 5 years. Even if it was just for a little while, what did you waste time on? You felt like it was a complete waste. It didn't invest in your well-being or increasing your neural pathways. Radha said, news. This could be fun. Come on, be vulnerable. Tell us one thing that you know you wasted your time on. Instagram, Manu said, a new social media. I think this is going to be a popular one. Anybody else want to admit if they waste any time binge watching Netflix episodes? Yep. Ruminations. Yeah, we could watch the movie in our own mind over and over again. Resentment. It already happened, but I resend it again and again. Keep looking at it, lamenting, doom scrolling. Katamrita says we've got sleeping more, even though not needed. Yeah. Boy, what if we made a long list for ourselves? We're being very vulnerable. And thing, this isn't being live streamed. Oh, it is. Uh, but if you make your own list, if you make your own list at home, you don't have to show it to anybody. This awareness campaign for yourself. What if you start writing down all the things that you regret wasting time on? I guarantee you, once you're aware of it and you start thinking about it and feeling, oh, let's see, there's more things. Overthinking, too many thoughts, thinking on too many things, worrying about what's going to happen in the future, right? All those things. We could make a list and then, we could just make a little bonfire, mini, and put it in there, put our list in there, say, no mas, that's it. I'm not going to waste time anymore. Thinking too much about things that happened in the past. Yep. So we can all make a list. And JM, let's see where we are on the slides. Keep me on track here. So that's what we were talking about. How much time do we have? So here's a thought which may be bracing, which may wake us up a little bit. You're not losing time, you're giving it to something. We're giving it. And what if you had money and you just started wasting it? Some people waste money because they don't know what to do with it. Like you read about sometimes athletes who are trained about how to take care of their money, or some person becomes famous and gets a lot of money, or somebody wins the lottery. They don't know what to do with money, so they just waste it on temporary things. Like, that book, The Millionaire Next Door, talks to live below your means and invest your money. People do the opposite. They spend it on perishables. Here today, gone tomorrow. They waste it and then they're broke again. So we give away our time. To who and for what reasons? It's good to keep track of, just like you have a balance sheet for your money, you should have a balance sheet for your time. Okay, on the risk of beating a dead horse. So, what must we understand about time? 5 things I'm promising. That's a lot, JM. Let's see if I can deliver. Number one, time takes. I think I've mentioned that in the last 36 minutes. You cannot save time. You can only choose to use it wisely. So it's not going to stop, but you can begin a campaign to shore up the leaks and make sure it's not leaking out here and there. This is edifying, isn't it? Don't you find once you become clear about what you want to do with your time, and then you start investing every day in doing something towards a worthy goal, don't you feel satisfied? And there is a way in which, if we feel overwhelmed because we're not clear on what we're trying to achieve today, tomorrow, in the next year, etc., that we may just give in to that overwhelming feeling and just waste time. And that's taking it for granted. And then time becomes vicious for us. And then we blame fate and so forth. But with our free will, we can decide how to use our time wisely. Well, that almost sounds cliche, but it's the crux of the matter. And that's number one. Time's taking away, we can choose. The next thing is time matures. So if you've ever invested in a bond, for instance, the bond becomes mature, or you've done investing, I'm giving these monetary examples, the power of compounded interest is one of the great miracles of the world. And if we make regular investments of our time into something worthy, for instance, you find out in the spiritual practice you're engaged in, what is the most essential element of that practice? Of whatever practice you have, if you can investigate and find out from those who are wise and the literatures that are guiding you, say, what's the most important out of all of them? Now, one of the books I often quote from, called the Srimad Bhagavatam, starts off at a seminar in the forest 5,000 years ago called Naimisharanya. And those participants who gathered there are asking this person who's facilitating the seminar, can you essentialize everything and tell us, because our lives are short, what are the essential spiritual practices that we should do? And which are the ones that we can leave behind? So the book cuts right to the chase and says, with this question, what should we be doing? What's the most important thing? Where to give our attention? Where we get the highest return? If you can find that out and then invest in it, then you find time becomes your friend. It's like you see this woman cultivating this grape. Is it a grape? Is it called an orchard? Can't be, can it? Vineyard. Vineyard. It took a lot of work to get the soil ready, put in the seeds or the saplings or the seedlings, and then it grows up. But in course of time, everything happens. And if you're investing properly, then maturity comes and it looks like an amazing, miraculous result. So if we utilize our time properly, we'll find that many things mature in our lives. And you can't rush maturity. It can't be, there's no shortcut to it. You have to do the small things every day that are most important. And then maturity comes and people say, oh, how did you get like this? One day at a time. Okay, number three, human life is not for living, it is for learning. If we just think I'm alive, that's good enough. Well, not really, because there's a purpose to the human form. We're not animals. Animals just try to stay alive. And if a beaver can survive longer than other beavers, then it's relatively successful. You don't expect your beaver to go to school or to sit in meditation. In fact, the other day, I was on one of my numerous walks I take from my house every day, and I was walking down my street, and a squirrel, it came scurrying down the tree next to me and crossed my path, and then he was startled by seeing me walking, and then he jumped up, tried to jump on the fence to get away, but he couldn't quite make it, so he bounced off, landed on the ground. And I said to him, I wrote down what I said to him. I'm going to read it to you because it's significant, I think, if I can find what I told my squirrel friend. It's in my book. It's worth the wait. Sorry to keep you waiting. What did I tell the squirrel? Yes, before that. Yeah, today I told a squirrel to settle down. You think he settled down? No, he can't. Because he's a squirrel. That's why people say don't be squirrely, because it's squirrel nature to be squirrely. That sounds like circular reasoning, but a squirrel can't settle down. He just said, settle down. It's okay. And he didn't. So squirrels can't settle down, beavers don't go to school, but a human being is meant for something more, not just living, not just surviving, but learning. We have to learn. And so the the very essential directive given in one of the essential teachings of all of the books of knowledge from the East is that you should be inquiring from every circumstance in your life of what's the lesson that I'm taking away from this? How can this elevate me to the next level? And oftentimes, and most of the time, or maybe always, whatever problems we come across, whatever is annoying us in this world or seems scary to us, that's a major impetus for learning something. And so wise people, when they encounter in due course of time and things come, it's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam in a famous verse, Kalena Sarvatra Kabir Rambasa, which Kalena means time. It's in the instrumental tense, so it means Kalena means in due course of time, by the instrument of time, through time. Kalena Kabira Rambasa means it's very deep, how there are lessons that are there within the time factor that are going to come to us. And there's a very intuitive system in the world that are meant to bring us certain kinds of obstacles just so that we can learn. So time can be our friend in that way. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, as an added spice, mentions in the 11th canto that the human body is a rare achievement. It's a well-built boat, it says. We need a captain and we need favorable breezes. And those favorable breezes means to take help from the instructions that come from the wisdom literatures and from your own practices. Then you can cross the ocean. Okay, I do a check-in. We got 15 minutes left. How's everybody doing? Do you have any reflections? Is the sun overhead? It's almost overhead. Basuda's good. Chandu's looks okay. Bhavakanti's doing well. Getting a few here. By Bob. Somebody's really fired up. Panda. Okay. All right, Jay, I'm going to keep going. 2 more lessons of time, or how to deal with time. This is one of my favorites. There's not enough time for everything. I know I've tried myself. I have very limited capacity, but I get overheated sometimes. I think I'm going to do everything. I have a lot of people saying, calm down. Lucky thing I'm not a squirrel, because sometimes I take that advice to heart and say, okay, maybe I should calm down and just try to do what I can. For instance, just in physical activity, I turned 70 this year, and I'm used to physical activity at a certain level. I have people who are coaching me and things like that, and they're going like, you can't do what you used to do, so get over it. Do what you can with what you have right now. And this is one of the ways in which we can become most effective. There's not enough time for everything. You can't do everything all at once, but there is enough time for the important things. And that's what you have to research. That's what intelligence means. You have to use your intelligence to figure out what is most important. One way you can do that, show and tell. Get ready, everybody. I'm like Mr. Rogers almost. Yeah, I keep it right here. It's on my desk. It's in plastic too, so it's eternal. Plastic never degrades. These are priorities I've written for myself that I read every day. There's nine of them that I read every day, and I make sure that I look at it first thing. That's why I have it right in front of me on my desk. So I pull it out and I look at it because in a relatively calm, sane state of mind, I decided what's best for me. Because there are states of consciousness in which we may not be completely sane. Has anybody ever experienced that? Please say yes. Otherwise, I'm going to feel really bad because I feel like that most of the time. But the fact is, you could be not in your right state of mind. Of course, the Bhagavad Gita said there's three modalities. There's goodness, passion, and ignorance. When you're in passion, you don't make great decisions. When you're in ignorance, you definitely make bad decisions. So at nighttime, sometimes, the mode of ignorance comes in, and you know you should go to bed, but you do something else that whiles away your time. If when you're in the mode of goodness, let's say in the morning, and you're inspired, you say, I'm not my body, and I know what the goal of life is, and you write down, this is what I'm supposed to do. Self, note to you, this is what you should do every day. And then you live by that. You take time to read it, what you wrote when you're in a sane condition. Then you can be guided by your own intelligence and use your time wisely. So decide for yourself what's most important. Research it and say, what should I be doing? And this is what makes human life exciting, is sharpening your will to do those things that are most important. And guess what? It's your life to choose. You don't have to follow anybody else. You can decide yourself through your own intelligence what you should be doing. And you may not be able to do it right away because once you get on the flight, you're going there. But you can decide, when I get off this flight, this is what I'm going to do next. You can even send an email from the flight and get ready for the next thing. So this is a very helpful way to utilize time. And I didn't get this dramatic when I was telling that couple down in Santa Barbara, but since you're all here consuming whatever I'm saying, apparently, maybe not, then I'm feeling excited. Okay, so here it is. There's not enough time for everything. Get that part and get it down to the essence, because there is enough time for the most important things. Scarcity of time is not a problem. Time's a filter. It's a filter. And that's the filter we should use. Now, I believe in the next slide, JM, we have this analogy that's given in the Srimad Bhagavatam about watering the root. Yeah, don't water all the leaves and branches, but pour water right on the root. So find out what the root of your existence is, the most important thing, and then water it. Then all other things will be nourished appropriately. Una más, por favor. Number 5. Now, you may have all heard this. I know you have. There's urgent and important. That's a crisis. Have any of you ever been in a situation where something's urgent and important? Mukharvind, shake your head. Okay, how about urgent and not important? Anyway, AI made it less important. I say not important. Urgent, but not important. Interruption. Not urgent and unimportant. It's a distraction. But here's the one in red, so that means it's important. Not urgent, but important. That's the formative activities of our life. And we want to try to get into that category as much as possible. It's not urgent, like your health. Let's just say if you eat a bad diet one day, you may not notice it that day. But what if you repeat that over a week? You might notice it. Let's say you decide that old adage that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, You replace it with something else, like a gallon of ice cream a day, and you get it wrong. You may not notice it after a week, but after a month or after a year, it's going to take a major toll on your health. So it's not urgent, but it's important. And if we can find those things and put it in that category, your relationships, it may not be urgent right now, but it's very important. Your character, can you go through the whole day and relate to people in a calm, responsible way? Have you ever had an instance in your life when you related to somebody that's very important to you in your life in a way that you might consider uncivil? Please say yes, or I'm going to feel bad. So, what if you were able to direct your attention to this important way of dealing with people that Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, that you should work for the welfare of others, be humble, and so forth? And what about your inner life? It's not urgent, but it's important. So if we are able to move into this category and take time every day to invest in those most important elements of our lives, when it's not urgent and we get on a regular schedule for it, then time becomes our greatest asset and place to invest. And finally, crescendo, prepare. Use your life to prepare because, yes, we talked about Ayu. There is a beginning and there is an end. Beginning is very important, and the end is all important because we have to leave this world. And a friend of mine had put up a post I read, said, everybody knows there's a beginning and end, but when the end comes, everybody acts surprised. The people who have to leave the world, leave their mechanical body, they think, wow, how could this happen? It's like, how could it not happen? Why doesn't it happen now? It seems like the body's barely holding together anyway. It's such a delicate system. Why be so surprised? Don't be surprised. Be ready. Use your time, says the wisdom literatures, and it's like, oh, you're so harsh, Vaisheshika. No, I'm not harsh. It's just this is actually being kind to ourselves, is understand reality and get ready. There's the story of Katvanga. He's a hero. He was always preparing himself, so he did some service for some very powerful beings, and then they wanted to reward him. And they said, what do you want? We'll give you anything. And he said, I just want to know what my Ayu is. Tell me, what's the clock say? How long do I have in this body? And they said, yeah, about a minute. And because he had used his life to prepare, he was able to fully give that last minute to being ready to leave the body. And that's a whole other topic, which we're not going into since we only have 5 minutes left. But that's the topic of the wisdom literature Srimad Bhagavatam in 18,000 verses. It's about a king who has 7 days to live. And his question is, what should I do with the last 7 days? Is that a good question? Yes, it's a good question. So one moment was enough for him because he was prepared. He was using life prepared, and that's why we practice this. Yeah, Dan McCready is saying a Twinkie a day. No, not a Twinkie a day. An apple is the Twinkie a day, you'll be blind by the end of the week. Okay, blind and who knows what else. So I'd like you to name one important thing that is not marked as urgent right now. That means, you know, the category I was talking about? It's important but not urgent. Could you name one thing? Write it down for yourself. One place in your life. So giving you an example, health. It's not urgent because if you don't attend to it today, you're not gonna notice it. But if you don't attend to it over the next month or year, you're gonna start noticing, what to speak of a lifetime. So Radhakripa gave us health. He took the free space. Are there any other categories? Let's ask some professors around here. Chuck, what do you think? Put something up there. Relationships. Ishvara, Aishwari Radha said relationships so important to invest in relationships. In fact, if you consider the relationships you have as an investment, your most important investment, and you keep giving your attention, it's like building up a bank balance. Art. Nice, Sudha, coming up with some heavy stuff today. We got spiritual practices. Absolutely, Sundar. You attend to your spiritual practice every day, even if it's a little bit. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, even the smallest little contribution. Let's see, Chuck came up with spiritual practices, independent of Sundar, and that means we're on a roll here. Yes. What made you think of that, Chuck? Spiritual practices as a category that's not urgent, but it's important. Your experience.
Well, I think it's important because, as you were just reminding us, our time here on Earth is limited. And so thinking about what's eternal and putting some of our precious time and attention towards that, what could be more important?
Absolutely. And, think of it an impetus of who wants to be caught unaware. And once we're aware and we have an idea that we can invest and we know what to do, then it feels so good to be able to invest in it every day. Even if we can't do everything, at least if we do what we can do and we know it's the right thing, then it feels satisfying, right? Thanks, Chuck. Spiritual practices, so vital. So find out, make a list of those things that are important but not urgent, and then make them a priority. And you're a time investor who's going to reap rich rewards for investing your time. And that's it. We're at 12:59 and just proof positive that time runs out. Every one of these sessions, we start off and we don't know how fast it's going to go, but we do come to the end of it. And life's like that too. I always notice that when people ask me, it's like, hey, could you do this thing? And I'm thinking, well, when do you want me to do it? Next year. It's like, yeah, that's no problem because it'll probably never happen. It's a year from now. So I'll say yes. And then all of a sudden I realize the year came up and I have to do it now. So we have to be careful what we say, what we do, what we lay down, because it gets embedded in our fortune. So the more we can be self-directing and use our time as our most important asset, the more successful we'll be. And that's what I told that poor couple that who were getting engaged. Poor means they had to listen to me for about 20 minutes about, and there were four more topics which we're going to talk about in subsequent meetings right here on where are we now? Success Sadhana. Thanks, everybody. I'm trying to think of a way that we can depart. The ending, you got to stick the ending. And one thing I'm thinking of is there's a culture high in the Himalaya. Not many people know about it because not many people climb that high, but there's yogis that live in caves, and they have this culture of encouraging one another by this phrase they use, which is Hari Bol. And Hari means one who takes away all your obstacles, and Bol means keep saying. So you say the name of Hari, and then all your obstacles are removed. And so they go, remove obstacles and keep going. So maybe we could try it. Now, there's a way they put their hands high in the air and then they say this phrase to one another just to encourage. It kind of shoots a little beam right into the other person's heart. So try to pick somebody on the screen. You can use your palms, they shoot beams out, and say the mantra before we go and try to encourage somebody. I'm going to aim at Ankit. 1, 2, even though his camera's not on. 1, 2, 3, go. Haribo!
Haribo!
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Time is